Goals are important, right? Goals are kind of the mile marker, right? But it's not why you're running the marathon, and it's not what denotes the finish line. So to to deconstruct it and build it over, it starts, as Jennifer was saying, with what do we actually care about? What motivates us? How are we aligned on something that's a need that's common, a vision that's common? We talk about purpose, passion, and possibility. Passion's, what do I care about? Purpose is, why am I here? Possibility is, how big could we dream? And those three things are the backbone, right? So we align those first. Possibility might look like we want to reinvent how people give in the philanthropic space, to use Classy as an example. Now, the revenue goal is a mile marker that just denotes our pace, right? The finish line we've picked is such that actually we never hit it. And that's the journey of life. We're all going to one place. We're all going to end up in the same place. The idea, as Browning says, is to pick a goal that exceeds your grasp, right? So we pick this wonderful possibility of what could it be like? What does the world look like when we're living on purpose, when we're aligned on our passions? Then the goals serve that. But there's no magic bullet of, you set your revenue target at 100 million, get to 100 million. So what? Now you want to get to 120. Now you want to get to 140. Now you want to get to 200 million or whatever. There's no there. That's one of the points that's what we learn. So that means that the running the marathon, if you're following it, needs to be really rewarding, right? Because the real cost you're paying is living off your passion. That's the value exchange, right? When we work somewhere, we get a wage, we give them hopefully the full support of what we care about. So we better really care about it.
And we're not saying throw out the financial metric. Like, money is energy and money is the fuel. Financial means is what helps us sustain and actualize and create impact. I think what's happening when we consider reverse engineering is to really consider the motive and the reciprocity of how we are receiving and then continuing to give, so we can participate in a cycle of abundance rather than in a cycle of scarcity.
I love Jennifer's point about abundance versus scarcity. Part of that thinking is, instead of, it is reverse engineering. So we don't start from the ground and build up. We start from the end and work down. There's a Thoreau quote we love that he wrote, if you build castles in the air, don't despair, that's where they should be. Now build foundations under them. So, what's our castle? What does it look like? What's the better world look like? Then we build the foundation up from there, and goals and metrics and revenue and financials is all part of the foundation. But when we start here, it's really hard to get off the ground floor.
We talk about this at Lantern, our leadership retreat, where it's really easy to create self-imposed glass ceilings. And when we look at stretching ourselves to the infinite possibility, what does a better world look like? What does children who can feed themselves and clothe themselves, what does that world look like? What does a world look like when we're working together in harmony and community and sharing? Really imagining and stretching what we think is possible, what we envision is possible, and then go higher. Because it's tricky. We have these self-imposed limits that are imaginary boundaries. So we like to help organizations and people really step into the imagination for themselves and their organizations, to think beyond that glass ceiling, beyond what could be possible, and start there. And then with that, getting the team, getting the organization to really digest that feeling. Because when you think about the law of attraction, like attracts like. So we have to be that which be what we wish to attract, right? Instead of wishing for it. We talk a lot about when we want something, when we wish for something, we put distance between where we are and where we want to go. But when we become that, when we actualize that, when we act as if, then we attract the right people and resources and support to help us get to what we've already become. So it's a really fascinating viewpoint as we look at increasing our funding and increasing our impact in the social cause sector to be that which we seek.
This idea of growth, I know you're speaking to me personally. This idea of growth for me was initially hard for me to get my head around, because I grew up really wanting the recipe. I was a great student. Like, think think of how most of us, at least in this country, go to school. You end fourth grade, and there's a fifth grade, and then there's a sixth grade, and then there's middle school, and then there's high school. And luckily, after high school, we have college. And after college, you go to graduate school, and then you get a good job, and then you get a better job, and then you be the director at the better job, and then you be the VP at that. Well, that whole model is based on someone else has the key to your growth. There's a checklist, right? And you just keep checking it. Well, at some point, all of us, some of us when we're 13, some of us when we're 83, say, why do they give someone else the checklist? For Jennifer and I, one thing we have in common is very early on, we were like, this checklist is full of it. We both were too impertinent to work for other people. We started our own companies. We just went off on a different path. And I think kind of tapping into that entrepreneur in all of us and saying, wait, we own our growth. Other people have recipes, and that's great. And Plenty has a recipe. It may or may not work for you. We like to think it's more of a way of thinking than a recipe, I guess. But taking back that, wait, I don't have to just get the next job that someone else thinks I should, because that's what I'm supposed to do next. Where's that written? I don't know if we're on topic at all, but this is a topic that's like really interesting to us.
I selfishly